Hello, and welcome to our English listening practice. Today, I will read you a story called The Lighthouse Keeper's Secret. This story is about change, discovery, and finding beauty in unexpected places. Listen carefully to the words and the way the story unfolds. Let the sounds of the language help you learn. Relax and enjoy the journey. Chapter 1. An unexpected letter. Clara lived in a busy city. Her apartment was small, high up in a tall building. Every morning, the sounds of cars and sirens woke her. She worked in an office doing the same tasks every day. Her computer screen was her main view. Clara felt like a tiny part of a very big, very fast machine. She often dreamed of quiet places, of open skies and the smell of fresh air. But those dreams felt far away, like stories from a book. One gray Tuesday, a letter arrived. It was not an email or a text message. It was a real letter, in a thick envelope. The stamp was unfamiliar. Clara opened it carefully. The letter said that her great-aunt Alara had passed away. Clara felt a small sadness, but also confusion. She barely remembered great-aunt Alara. She had met her only once, as a very small child, at a family gathering. She remembered a kind smile and eyes that seemed to hold the color of the sea. The letter continued. Great-aunt Alara had left Clara something in her will. Clara read the words again, surprised. To my great-niece, Clara, I leave my home at Seaview Point, including the lighthouse and the keeper's cottage, and all their contents. A lighthouse? Clara didn't even know her great-aunt owned a lighthouse. She imagined a tall, white tower by the sea, like in pictures. The letter included a small, old photograph. It showed a sturdy-looking lighthouse, a bit weathered, on a rocky cliff. Next to it was a small, stone cottage with a crooked chimney. It looked wild and remote. Her first thought was practical. I should sell it, she told her cat, Leo, who just blinked slowly. A lighthouse is not exactly useful in the city, but a small part of her, the part that dreamed of quiet places, felt a tiny pull. A flicker of curiosity. Her boss agreed to give her a week off. Go see it, he said. Maybe it's an adventure. So, Clara packed a small bag. She put in sensible shoes, a warm sweater, and a notebook, just in case. She didn't know what to expect, but as the train pulled away from the city, she felt a little lighter. The buildings got smaller, and the green fields began to appear. She was going to Seaview Point, a place she didn't know, to a lighthouse left by a woman she hardly remembered. Chapter 2. Arrival at Seaview Point. The journey was long. First a train, then a bus that rattled along narrow country roads. Finally, a taxi driver, an old man with a kind face, drove her the last few miles. The road became a bumpy track, and the air began to smell of salt and seaweed. Not many folks come out this way anymore, the driver said. Especially not to the old lighthouse. Your great-aunt Alara, she was a special one. Kept to herself mostly, but always had a kind word. Loved this place, she did. And then Clara saw it. Seaview Point. The lighthouse stood on a high cliff, its white paint peeling in places. It looked strong and old, like it had faced many storms. The cottage beside it was small and gray, nestled into the hillside, as if trying to hide from the wind. The sea stretched out before them, vast and gray-blue under a cloudy sky. Waves crashed against the rocks below, sending up white spray. It was wild, beautiful, and a little bit lonely. The taxi driver helped her with her bag. The key is under the stone frog by the door. Alara always kept it there. He wished her luck and drove away, leaving Clara alone with the wind and the sound of the sea. She found the stone frog, green with moss, and under it, a heavy iron key. The cottage door creaked open. Inside, it was dusty and cold. Sunlight struggled to get through the small, salt-stained windows. There was a simple wooden table, 2 chairs, a small kitchen area, and a fireplace with ashes from an old fire. A narrow staircase led upstairs. It smelled of old wood, salt, and something else of faint, sweet scent, perhaps dried herbs. Despite the dust, it felt lived in. Books were piled on shelves, seashells decorated the windowsills, and a faded quilt was folded on an old armchair. Clara walked through the small rooms. Upstairs was a tiny bedroom with a sloping ceiling and a window that looked directly out at the lighthouse tower. It felt like being on a ship. That evening, Clara made a simple meal from the few groceries she had brought. She ate by the window, watching the sun set over the sea. The colors were incredible: orange, pink, and deep purple. There were no city noises here, only the wind, the waves, and the distant cry of a seagull. For the first time in a long time, Clara felt a sense of quiet inside her. Chapter 3. The Keeper's Journals. The next morning, Clara decided to explore the cottage more thoroughly. In a small wooden chest in the bedroom, tucked beneath some old blankets, she found them, a series of notebooks. They were bound in faded blue cloth, their pages filled with neat, flowing handwriting. They were Great-Aunt Alara's journals. Clara sat on the old armchair, pulled the quilt over her knees, and began to read. The first entry was dated 50 years ago. Alara had been a young woman then, just come to live at the lighthouse. The sea is a new friend, Alara wrote. Sometimes gentle, sometimes angry, but always honest. The light is my duty, a small star for those lost in the dark. Clara read for hours. Alara wrote about the changing seasons, the different birds that visited, the storms that shook the cottage, and the quiet beauty of a sunrise over the water. She described the plants she grew in her small garden, the way the light changed on the waves, and the stories the old fisherman told her. There was a deep love for this wild place in every word. In one journal, Alara mentioned a secret. She wrote, "The cliffs hold many secrets for those who know how to look. Mine is a treasure of light, hidden from most eyes. It only shares itself when the conditions are perfect. A gift from the sea." Clara was intrigued. A treasure of light? What did that mean? There were no maps, no further clues, just that mysterious sentence. As she read, Clara felt a growing connection to this woman she had barely known. Alara had not been lonely here. She had found a whole world in this small corner of the coast. She had found peace, purpose, and beauty. Clara looked out the window at the gray sea. She was starting to see Seaview Point not as a problem to be solved, but as a place with a soul. Chapter 4. Exploring and understanding. The next few days, Clara used Alara's journals as a guide. She walked along the cliff paths Alara had described, her sensible shoes now dusty and worn. She found the small cove where Alara used to collect smooth, gray stones. She saw the place where wild thrift flowers bloomed in pink carpets every spring. One afternoon, while exploring a path that led down towards a small, rocky beach, she met someone. A woman, about her own age, was sketching in a large notepad. She had bright, curious eyes and a friendly smile. "Hello," the woman said. "You must be Clara."
"I'm Maya."
"I heard someone was staying at the old lighthouse cottage. Your great-aunt Alara was a wonderful woman." "You knew her?" Clara asked. "Oh yes," Maya said. Everyone in the little village nearby knew Alara. She was quiet, but so kind. She taught me about the local plants and birds. I'm an artist, and this coastline is my inspiration. Thanks to her. They talked for a long time. Maya told Clara stories about Alara, about her knowledge of the sea and her quiet acts of kindness. She also told Clara about the lighthouse. "It hasn't been a working lighthouse for many years," Maya explained. "The light mechanism is old and broken, but it's a landmark.
It means a lot to the local people."
"We've always worried someone would buy it and let it fall down or turn it into something too modern." Clara looked up at the tall tower. It did look a bit sad, its paint peeling, its lantern room empty. The thought of restoring it, of bringing it back to life, flickered in her mind. But it seemed like such a huge, expensive task. How could she, a city girl who knew nothing about lighthouses, even begin? Alara always dreamed of fixing the light, Maya said softly, just to see it shine one more time, even if it wasn't for guiding ships anymore, just for the beauty of it. That evening, Clara read more of the journals. Alara had written about her attempts to find someone to repair the light, but it was always too costly, too complicated. Yet, she never gave up hope. Clara felt a strange mix of emotions. This place, these people, her great-aunt's life, it was all starting to feel important. Chapter 5. The storm and the secret revealed. The weather began to change. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon. The wind picked up, whistling around the cottage. Maya had warned her that a storm was coming. "It's going to be a big one," she'd said. "Make sure everything is secure." Clara remembered reading in Alara's journal about a particularly violent storm and how her great-aunt had checked on old Mr. Peterson, a fisherman whose small boat was moored in a nearby inlet. Alara had described a hidden, slightly more sheltered part of that inlet. Clara felt a sudden urge. She put on her coat and hurried out. The wind pushed against her. She found the path to the inlet. Old Mr. Peterson, a man she'd briefly met in the village shop, was struggling with his boat, the waves already choppy. Mr. Peterson, Clara shouted over the wind. My aunt wrote about a safer spot in this inlet, further in, behind those rocks. He looked surprised, then nodded. Together, they managed to move the small boat to the more sheltered spot just as the first heavy drops of rain began to fall. Thank you, lass, he said, his voice gruff but grateful. Alara knew all the secrets of this coast. Clara hurried back to the cottage, the wind howling. The storm raged all night. The cottage creaked and groaned, but it stood firm. Clara felt strangely calm. She was safe, and she had helped someone, using her gray-tant's knowledge. The storm ended as suddenly as it began. The next morning, the air was clear and fresh. The sea was still rough, but the sun was shining. Clara went out. The world looked washed clean. She walked along the cliffs, feeling a new energy. She found herself near the small, rocky beach where she had first met Maya. She remembered Alara's words. My secret is a treasure of light. It only shares itself when the conditions are perfect. A gift from the sea, the storm, the clear water after the rain. Could this be it? Clara scrambled down the rocks. The tide was low. She walked towards a cluster of dark, wet rocks that formed a shallow pool, a place Alara had mentioned as the Whispering Pool. As she got closer, she saw it. Tiny, sparkling lights in the water. Thousands of them. It was like a galaxy of stars had fallen into the sea. Bioluminescent plankton. They glowed with a soft, magical blue-green light. It was breathtakingly beautiful. This was Alara's secret. Not gold or jewels, but this incredible, natural wonder. A treasure of light. Indeed. Clara sat on a rock, mesmerized, tears welling in her eyes. It was a gift, a reminder of the magic hidden in the world. Chapter 6. A new light. Seeing the bioluminescent glow changed something in Clara. It was a sign, a confirmation. This place was special. Her great-aunt Alara had understood its magic. Clara made a decision. She would not sell Seaview Point.
She would stay.
She would try to restore the lighthouse. Not just the building, but its spirit. She talked to Maya. She talked to Mr. Peterson and other people in the village. She told them about her plan. To her surprise, they offered to help. Maya knew a local builder who specialized in old structures. Peterson offered to help clear the grounds. Others offered tools, time, and knowledge. We always hoped someone would care for the old light, they said. It wouldn't be easy. It would take time and money. Clara would have to learn many new things. She called her boss in the city. I'm not coming back, she said. I've found something here. Her boss was surprised, but wished her well. Clara started small. She cleaned the cottage, aired out the rooms, and planted a small herb garden, just like Alara used to have. She began to research lighthouse restoration, reading books and articles online. Maya helped her set up a small local fundraising campaign. People from nearby towns, and even some tourists who loved the coastline, donated. Months passed. The lighthouse slowly began to change. Scaffolding went up. New paint, the color of fresh cream, covered the old, peeling walls. The lantern room was carefully cleaned, its glass polished until it shone. They couldn't afford to fix the original, massive light mechanism yet, but the local electrician helped install a smaller, symbolic light, bright enough to be seen, a beacon of hope. One evening, as autumn approached, they turned it on for the first time. Clara, Maya, Mr. Peterson, and many others from the village gathered on the cliff. As dusk fell, Clara flipped the switch. A warm, steady beam of light shone out from the lighthouse tower, cutting through the darkness, sweeping over the sea. A cheer went up from the small crowd. Clara looked at the light, her heart full. It wasn't just a light in a tower. It was a symbol of community, of preserving beauty, of a new beginning. Clara still had much to do, but standing there, with the sea breeze on her face and the light shining above, she knew she was home. She had found her own quiet place, her own purpose, guided by the legacy of a great aunt she had come to know and love through her words, and by the secret, glowing treasure of the sea. The city felt like a distant dream. Her real life had just begun.